There we are. Hi, everybody. Kufar Akbar. Welcome to the Crossing the Crescent discussion group. This is a live stream show dedicated to rightly dividing the truth between Christianity and Islam. I am your host, Eric Secker, for coming to you from the cavernous depths of the Capper Cave here in Dar al-Harb, Kafiristan. Man, I'm excited to do tonight's show. I have been itching at doing this show all week. I finally got it out and built for Streamlab last night, pushed it out. So I hope we have some visitors. I sent it to a lot of my Facebook friends, and I had one of them show up. He's been in chat, but he's got to work, I guess. And he posted a bunch of things about what his opinion of what tonight's show is about. Well, let me just tell you what tonight's show is about. Tonight we're going to talk about the Sharia Islamia, Islamic law. What would happen if the Sharia came to America? What would happen? Other than a lot of people would get shot. Other than that, let's just forget that. What I want to focus on tonight is what is in the Sharia, and how is the Sharia so antithetical to our democracy, to our Constitution, and to the West itself? Because we see all these conflicts going on in Europe today with all these Western European nations. The UK is on the brink, is going to stay on the brink until they institute some type of immigration program, and that's doubtful that's going to happen anytime soon with that. What's the guy's name? Stammer, whatever the guy's name is that's in charge over there now. And his appointment of a Muslima as the equivalent of Department of Homeland Security.
It's Keir Starmer.
What's his name?
Keir Starmer.
Pierre. He sounds French.
Oh, Keir, like K-E-I-R. Keir Starmer.
Okay, all right, Keir. Sorry. What's a Frenchie running the UK government for anyway? So first things first. Why this show? Well, I pay a lot of attention to posts on social media and listen to what people have to say about what their intentions are, especially the Muslims, what their intentions are for the United States of America. And this guy caught my eye this week. What's this guy's name? His name's Suleiman something. Suleiman. Now this guy's got like a
Omar Suleiman.
What's his name?
Omar Suleiman. Yes.
Omar Suleiman. This guy's got like a bazillion followers on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I'm sure he's on TikTok. I don't get on TikTok because, well, actually, I did build a TikTok account because we sold TikTok to an American company. But anyway, I haven't got on TikTok because they're a bunch of commies. But I'm sure he's got something on TikTok too. Listen to what this clown has to say about. I mean, this is one of your most, and this is supposed to be. Now, correct me. Have you guys, Rad? Issa, have you heard this guy before?
I've met him.
Oh, you've met him. Is he a very personable and likable guy?
He was a very nice, likable guy when I saw him. But
yeah, I believe it 100%. He comes across as this personable, likable Muslim, I mean you no harm type guy. That's how he comes across. And if you would,
I come in peace.
What?
I come in peace.
Yeah, that's the impression you get from this guy. But listen to what he has to say here. Listen. Just you might not think the same thing after you get done listening to it. Listen to this guy.
What we as Muslims want to implement here in the United States, we believe the Constitution should be replaced by the Quran. First move that I will.
Well, did you hear that? Did you hear what he said?
I'm a little bit in shock about that. I didn't think he would say something like that. But
right, we think that the Constitution should be replaced by the Quran. Now we can go through the Quran and all of its sordid passages calling for, violence against non-believers, telling Christians and Jews that they're the worst of creatures, and how they want to subjugate us, 929 type stuff. We could do that, but that's like beating a dead horse. What I want to do is I want to show you what their law says, what they derive, what are they going to do based on what the Quran teaches, based on what their false prophet did, and what we find in the Hadith and in the Sirah. That's what I want to show you. And we just happened. Oh, here's a couple. Let's just listen to these other clowns here talk also. This guy, I don't even know. Let's see. I don't know who this guy is.
I will abolish the constitution and I will establish the only logical and rational constitution, which is the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
When it comes to
so he's going to abolish the constitution. I thought, and this is just me. I thought in order to change, abolish, or do anything to the Constitution, you need like 2/3 of the states to approve that. Am I right on that? I know I'm right. I taught this crap for a decade and a half, for crying out. I know it takes that. And then you have to have like 75%. Anyway, in order to propose an amendment. It's complicated how you do a constitutional, but in order to do that, you got to get at least 2/3 of the states to agree to it. What?
Well, I have a question. So then, if it were to be a theocracy, what kind of theocracy? Like, I have to bring up the prime example. You take Pakistan. You have multiple variants of Muslims there. Well, all of them have different interpretations and understandings of what that looks like. You know what I mean? So you're saying I'm going to implement the Quran Sunnah. Whose interpretation of it? This is why in our government, we have separation of, church and state, right? Which means that you can totally be Christian or whatever religion in office, but you don't run a theocracy. There's reasons why our founding fathers did that. It makes a lot of sense. Because if someone says, hey, I'm going to interpret the religion in a certain way, you can oppress other people. So we have certain things in place that this is a part of modernity,
Well, we're going to talk about that. What would that look like? Whose interpretation of what school of thought are we going to follow? And as a matter of fact, let's just deal with that right now. I can tell you right now, it doesn't matter. And here's why it doesn't matter at all. Let me take this off the screen. It doesn't matter. And here's why it doesn't matter. The one that is the most violent is going to win out. That's the bottom line. Whichever one is the most violent, it doesn't matter which one is more adherent to the Quran, more adherent to the Sunnah, more adherent to the Sharia. Whoever is the most violent is going to win out, and whoever is the most violent is going to be the one that is going to be the most repressive. So it really doesn't matter which school of thought that you're caring about is who's going to. Which version of this are we going to have? You're going to have the most violent version. That is
Mike makes right
in Islam. What? Go ahead, Brad.
Might makes right in Islam.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does. And you look what's happening in. Did you guys see what's happening in the Sudan today? Brad, you sent me a clip, didn't you, on X?
Yeah. So I'm kind of confused about this. So. Maybe someone can answer me this. I'm trying. Well, I've been coding all day in Python, writing my Quran compare script. It's coming along nicely. I think I'm almost there. So basically, I take 2 Arabic Qurans and I compare them, and it's going to list all the differences. I'm just fine tuning it right now. But that's beside the point. I really haven't been paying attention to this. Anyway, but no. So I first noticed it because it was Yasser Qadi. Who posts about this genocide that's happening, and they're videotaping it, kind of like the Hamas did. Videotaping the killing, and they're saying Allah Akbar, and they're calling themselves Muslims doing it. So I'm like, in the Sudan, wait, now they're all of a sudden talking about a genocide. And then I noticed a couple other, Dr. Jonathan Brown, from who I follow, who I've actually spoken to. He's a really nice guy. From what is it, Washington University or whatever, where all the elites go to learn. He posted something about it. And it appears, and I'm not sure on this, but I did notice someone post that they were killing Muslims. And they were showing these women in the hijab and they were saying shame on them for the Muslims for killing these Muslims. So I'm wondering, I could be wrong, is this Muslim terrorists? Are they just killing Muslims and that's why they're complaining? Or is it just an overall, they're just butchering everybody in the town kind of deal? Again, I'm not sure on this. I'm not sure what's going on.
What I gathered based on what I read
Uh-huh.
is that it's Muslim on Muslim attacks is what's going on.
Oh, that's why. Because they're also calling them, of course, they're blaming the Zionist Jews.
No, that's what Yassakati. Well, that is what.
Yeah.
And that are causing all of this, even though it's your own flipping.
Yeah, and they're blaming,
doing it.
and they're also blaming the UAE for some reason. And of course, it's Trump's fault. It's always Trump's fault. So it's the Jews and Trump's fault. So I'm not sure what's going on, and I did confuse Sudan with Nigeria because again I got other that I showed you because the Muslim rampage is happening all over Africa, because there of course the slaughter of Christians continues, in Nigeria.
19,000 churches. This is just churches. 19,000. Think of that number. 19,000 churches have been destroyed in Nigeria. Hundreds of thousands, if not over 1 million people have been killed. Christians have been killed in Nigeria. What is going? It's a genocide. There was a video clip that I think I sent to myself. I don't want to play a million different and get off topic, but they were doing this mass funeral.
I saw that. Yeah.
20, 30 caskets being carried by these people. You know, you just how can you not see this coming in the West here? How can you not say, look, this is not a good thing? I mean, duh. And we're not going to allow it in our country. And those that are in our country that practice this, you got to go, because we are not going to even give you a foothold to try to attempt to override our Constitution, to override our democracy, to override whatever, the form of government that they have instilled by the will of the people, not the will of a caliph or any of the like. So, so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to look at the Sharia. What does it say, and how do we know that this is? How do we know that this is the Islamic law? I mean, because we've asked you, if you ask your everyday run-of-the-mill Muslim, where can I find this Sharia? They say, oh, it's in the Quran, it's in the Sunnah. Where specifically can I find the laws? Because the Quran is very vague. It's just one of the many reasons why we know the Quran is a bunch of bunk. But it's extremely vague. And then when you get into the Sunnah has women being raped all over the place. It has people being sold. Is that the Sharia that you're talking about? And then you get, oh no. Oh yes, it is. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. The source that you can find for the Sharia is right here. You guys own, Brad? Do you own this thing? You said you own this thing.
Yeah, I do. Well, I own the PDF version of it.
No, the book, the actual hardcover book.
Books are so like what 20th century technology, dude.
Killing me.
They take up space, dude.
Okay, all right.
Come on, I got more in books than the entire Library of Alexandria. Every time they've been burnt down on a single hard drive. Now.
Right, okay, I get it.
Books.
You and Dr. Kufar Phobia, he's proud of his library of collection of PDF files and books and so. I got quite a few for just taking them J. Smith classes. He sends out all these books from Patricia Corona and all those hard to. You ever tried to get a hold of that Hagerism? By Dr. Patricia Corona.
That's expensive.
$50.
That's expensive.
Yeah.
See, I don't understand why college textbooks are so expensive. Because nobody would buy them. So why are they so expensive? You're forced to buy them. If you're a college student, you know what I mean? Or just in case you just want to read stuff like that.
Well, everything is being digital now. It's buying access to the digital copy. You don't have a lot of textbooks being sold. The school that I teach, it's all digital. I like a good hard copy textbook, and I make the students use the hard copy textbook. But they do have a.
That means they got to carry them around in book bags.
Oh, no. I just have a class copy. I have a class copy.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a digital copy that I have them also access. But I mean, that's the way with it.
I mean, how are they going to fit in their book bag? They got. Oh my God! I remember in high school all the books we had to carry.
Yeah.
It was like in a huge backpack. It would do. I was training for the Navy SEALs carrying that thing around.
I know, it's just like you get to the classroom, you've reached muscle failure by the time you get there.
Exactly. You got to bring them home, man. It's like, what the hell, dude?
Yeah. Especially if you have a heavy, Tuesday was always my big night for homework to assign kids. It seemed like everybody else, so they'd be carrying 5 textbooks home and they'd be bent over doing in a ranger file going out to the school buses because, anyway. Okay, so this is the book. That, let me put this up here, The Reliance of the Traveler. Now, if you look right here, let me bring this up. Is this it? No, this is it right here. Let me get my laser pointer. Okay, right here, this says a classic manual of Islam's sacred law. That's what it says right there. Classic Manual of Islam's Sacred Law, and this is who was translated by. It was written in the 15th century, if I'm not mistaken. In response, I've listened to several. Once I got this idea in my mind this week, I listened to several YouTube videos about how Muslims approach it and what they think of it, and most of them think that it was a response to the Crusades. Finally putting everything down in all the law in a written form and how to govern ourselves since we've thrown those evil crusaders off and we don't have to worry about them anymore. That's what I gleaned from it. With this, how do we know that we can trust this? Well, let's jump over to this joker right here. You guys recognize him? You recognize this guy? Brad, do you recognize him? Brad, anybody recognize, anybody in chat recognize this guy? This is
sorry. Was that Bilal Phillips or Siraj Wahaj? That's Siraj
Wahaj. This is
you cheated. You read
I know,
it.
No, I actually know of him. I'm aware of him.
Yeah, okay. So
I'm in these kind of circuits, so I kind of know about these people.
Yes, Siraj Wahaj is kind of rich, and I don't mean by dollar-wise. I don't know, maybe he is rich. I don't know, but rich and some of the things that he says. He has some salty quotes out there saying that America's a garbage can. His son was convicted of murder. They were running a terrorist camp out in New Mexico or Arizona someplace. And one of the kids that they were training kids on how to kill people. And one of the kids had a disability and they either killed him or let him die. I don't know which one, but the whole thing, this whole guy is sick. All right. And this is Mandani's spiritual leaders of sorts. A number of pictures have come out this week of Siraj Wahaj and Mandani. And this guy's very controversial because of his anti-American stances. Also, I would say Siraj Wahaj is an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Money Laundering Foundation trial. He was a conspirator to launder money for terrorists. That's who this guy is. And then after 9/11, they brought him into the House of Representatives. They bring him into the House of Representatives to do what? Well, he comes into the House of Representatives and he gives the invocation. They let this guy give the invocation in our House of Representatives. What a weak country. Anyway, all right, so let me go ahead and play this joker and listen to what he has to say about Reliance of the Traveler.
The book of the Reliance of the Traveler, which is a good book which goes in detail about Salah. The book of the Reliance of the Traveler, which is a good book which goes in detail about Salah.
Okay, so he's saying it's Reliance of the Traveler gives all the details about Salat, which is prayer. So he's trusting the Reliance of the Traveler to tell you how to pray. I think that's the only thing he said. reliance of the travel. There we got it. Thank you, Siraj. Now let's jump back to this thing here. I want to show you the next slide. Also, this book, this Reliance of the Traveler, I'm sorry, I didn't have that up on the screen. This book is endorsed by Al-Azhar University. Al-Azhar University. We had Steve join us. Hi, Steve. It's good to see you, buddy. I'm sorry, I got your message. I think I just messaged you on Facebook and told you that I'm sorry I missed your show last night. Looks like you guys had a good time. But anyway, could you guys tell me how authoritative is Al-Azhar University in the Sunni Islamic world? Does anybody know?
Extremely. Extremely.
Yeah, this is like the Vatican. Is essentially what it's like. If you think of Christianity, Catholicism being Sunnis being a denomination, Catholicism being a denomination, Al-Azhar is similar to the Vatican being an authority. Al-Azhar, this is what it says. We certify that the above mentioned translation corresponds to the Arabic original forms, right here, forms, practice, and faith of Orthodox Sunni community. There is no objection to printing it and circulating it. So when people start barking, if you're going to start barking and say, "Oh, Kafir, you're just, you're citing from a text that nobody believes in. You're citing from a text that is not authoritative," shut your pie hole. It's right there at the front of it. There are other people that have endorsed it. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time on it, but right there, it tells you that this is an authoritative manual for the Sharia Islamia. Now, one of the things that we need to know about Islamic law, and I want to thank Lloyd Zhang for this. He sent me a couple of things this week, but this is the one thing that I was looking at because one of our conversations that we had was that Muslims are not allowed to teach Islamic law to the kuffar. They're not allowed to, it's against the Islamic law. And I'm like, well, you're going to have to show me receipts. Well, here's the receipts. Giving direction to someone who wants to do wrong, and right down here, teaching questions of sacred law to those learning it in bad faith. I will tell you right now, right, unequivocally, I have learned this manual in bad faith. I had the purpose of learning the Islamic law for me is to expose it to the rest of the world. That's why I've learned this manual, or I've learned great portions of it. And this right here tells you that if you are learning it in bad faith, that they're not supposed to teach it to you. And they're supposed to lie. The very next paragraph, R8, is about lying. This one's about holding one's tongue. R8, this is R7. R8 is about lying. And when is it permissible to lie? Yeah, right here, Rob nailed it on the head. The Muslim who teaches the Sharia to the kuffar is seen as a traitor. Absolutely right, 100%. Okay, let's go to the next part of this. Now, when we talk about, let me make sure we understand this. We're talking about comparing this to the United States Constitution and to the laws that we are subjected to today. Remember what they said at the beginning of the show. I showed you three prominent people. One that's in charge of the Muslim Student Association for all of the universities, or maybe just 1 year. I don't know who it was. Then the Suleiman guy, who's supposed to be this semi-liberal imam, sheikh, or whatever the heck he is, saying that they want the Quran to replace the Constitution. This is what I want to do. I want to compare the Sharia, the Islamic law, to American law, to the Constitution, to what we know as Americans of what our freedoms and rights are granted to us endowed by our Creator, as it says in the Declaration of Independence, that we're endowed by a Creator, certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And these are articulated and spelled out in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments, 10 changes to the Constitution. The rest of the amendments, namely the 14th and 15th, and I think it's the 20th and 19th, 20th Amendment, granting women's universal suffrage. All these things are in our Constitution and then are codified by case law, which we find in the Supreme Court, and also subsequent laws in local jurisdictions such as states, counties, municipalities. All of these laws that we find here in the Reliance of the Traveler are antithetical to that. They're the exact opposite of what we afford people as citizens in our country and in the West, I would also add. So let's look at this first one. Somebody want to say something? Right there. Yep. Thanks, Rob. Yep, you're absolutely right. Okay. Elizabeth, we're going to get to all this. Yes, I know we're not doing that one. Eye for an eye. Very good. Islam commands that a male, female, where did you have this? Must have, where'd you go? What number is that? 7? Where'd you go? Right there. Oh, there must have, I didn't get that today. Sorry. Okay, Steve. How do I mute Steve? There we go. I think. Okay, so let's do the first one. Here. We're only 30 minutes into the show. This is located on pages 520. I cite the page. I cite the division O, section 1, and then the paragraph number. Page 582, 583. The blood of a Muslim man who testifies that there is no God but Allah, and that I am the messenger of Allah. It is not lawful to, this is Muhammad speaking, it's not lawful to shed unless he be one of 3, a married adulterer, so you can shed the blood of an adulterer, somebody who's killed in retaliation for what? Killing another, or someone who abandons his religion and the Muslim community. That's Muhammad. This is Hadith right here. And then over here it says the killing. Now these are justifications for the law that is going to follow. Just watch what's going on. They're citing Hadith to support the law that they find within the Sharia. The killing of a believer is more heinous in Allah's sight than doing away with all of the world, of this world. Okay, so if you kill somebody, if you kill a Muslim, retaliation is obligatory. When? If the person entitled wishes to take it, against anyone who kills a human being purely, intentionally, without right. Okay, that's cool. But you can retaliate. There's no trial. You just go out and kill them for killing somebody else. Intentionally is the first restriction, but it goes on. And without excuse, cases justifiable homicide. Wait, did I miss something? Someone threw an honest mistake. Okay, that's okay. The following are not subject to retaliation. This is the point that I wanted to make. A Muslim for killing a non-Muslim. So if a Muslim would kill Rad, nobody could retaliate against that Muslim for doing that.
Let him come and try. I'm just saying.
Rad packs. This is true.
I'm more dangerous to myself than I am to anybody else, but you know.
Yeah, we've seen that on the shooting range. Also, down here where it says a father or a mother for killing their offspring or offspring's offspring. So if you're a father or a mother, you can kill your kids or your grandkids. And we have seen this at least 300 times in the UK. I heard the number was 300 times where they have had honor killed. Girls have been honor killed in the UK. 300. Why? Because the Sharia right here says that you can do it without retaliation. You're not subject to retaliation. You can go ahead and do it. And that's all over the Muslim world. Apostasy. Now, this one is about as ridiculous as it comes. If you leave your religion, that is your personal decision, because it says right there in the First Amendment to the Constitution, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, nor prohibiting the free exercise of that religion. Meaning that you are free to worship any way that you want to. And that means if you are a Muslim and you decide and you figure out that the Quran is a bunch of bunk and say, look, I don't want to be a Muslim anymore, and you leave Islam and you embrace, let's say, Christianity, like many do, here you can be punished. Because listen to what it says. Apostasy from Islam is the ugliest form of unbelief, kufr, and the worst. Now, this is what it says when somebody apostatizes. When a person who has reached puberty and is sane voluntarily apostatizes from Islam, he deserves to be killed.
I'm just glad that I haven't reached puberty yet.
Steve, for many of you who haven't watched the show in a long time, Steve, who's been coming here regularly for years, used to be a Muslim, and he is Palestinian, or at least and let's see, your dad was a Muslim, Palestinian. He has actually lived in the Gaza Strip and as a Christian. He was a Muslim, converted to Christianity, and lived in the Gaza Strip. He, from my understanding, he was some type of hippie who ran around with a guitar all the time, which got shot up in something. I don't remember how that.
The Jews shot his guitar.
It was in the Gaza Strip. I'm fairly certain it was.
It was the Jews. It was the Jews.
Anyway, Steve, let me just a real quick question. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but have you been threatened before for being an apostate? As a matter of fact, that was the name of your book, wasn't it?
Yeah, my book is called The Apostate. Yes, I have been. And been threatened to be kidnapped, been threatened to be killed, been shot at, been hit, lots of good things. So,
and it's because of your apostasy.
And that's just in America on the streets of wherever he street preaches with his big honking cross. Seriously.
No, America is much better. In America, you get slapped and spit at in the face, but there haven't been any threats.
I'm sorry, Brother Steve. That's just really terrible. You shouldn't have gone through any of that. It's really disgusting that people do that.
Yeah.
Which people do that, Isa?
What'd you say?
Which people do that?
I would say just terrible, fanatical people. Bad guys. Bad guys do it.
Okay. Steve, are they just terrible, fanatical people and bad guys, or there's a common denominator amongst them?
Well, to tell the truth, as you know, Muhammad said in Arabic, "Man baddal dino fa'uqtilu." So whoever changes his religion, kill him. The good thing is, most Muslims don't obey Muhammad, because he said I'm supposed to be killed. You know, but most Muslims, fortunately, do not obey Muhammad.
Right.
So I always thank the Muslims who don't obey Muhammad about this. You know, I say thank you.
I'm glad today most Muslims have a higher sense of morality than their prophet does. And you see that playing out when you start talking to them about some of the things he did. Nabil Qureshi, David Woods talked continuously about Nabil's conversion to Christianity, and it was because of the problems that he had with what Muhammad did, and people following his sunnah, following this example. And a lot of Muslims today recognize what a reprobate that man truly was, and a lot of things. If you follow his sunnah today, a lot of the things that he did would get you in jail. They would put you in jail for. And I'm not talking about ordering the murder, conspiring to murder people or to rape women, engaged in, genocide and ethnic cleansing or anything. I'm just talking about some of the picadillos, like, I don't know, marrying a 9-year-old little girl. That's very problematic. Marrying the ex-wife of your adopted son. That seems a little illegal. I guess is that illegal? I don't know.
To marry your son's wife?
Yeah.
Or your adopted son's wife.
Your adopted son's divorced wife. Is that illegal?
No, that's not illegal. That's a verse came down, and it's in chapter 33, verse 37, Surah Al-Ahzab, where Allah removed the embarrassment that men who want to marry their daughters-in-law or former daughters-in-law, because of Muhammad's example, he made it permissible, by marrying his daughter-in-law.
But here's my question though, Steve. Is this illegal in the United States? Not because we know it's legal according to Islamic law.
Oh.
Muhammad did this. What was the girl's name? Zainab,
Bint Jahsh, the daughter of the mule. So
yeah. So it's sunnah. They can do it, but I don't know. I talk to a lot of men all the time, and I haven't met one that has ever had a desire for marrying his daughter-in-law. At least,
well, you're hanging around too many normal people, my friend.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. I need to start.
No. Well, okay. So just to be clear, in the Bible, that is clearly forbidden. I'm sure in the United States of America, you can get away with it in some states. Probably actually all states. They probably don't legislate that. Because
Michigan.
Michigan, yeah, probably Michigan. But no, clearly in the Bible, it's forbidden. And what also is forbidden is marrying. If you marry a woman, okay, and she has a kid, okay, it is not permissible, I believe in the Bible, for your son, okay, to marry her daughter. But I could be wrong on that. I'm not sure. Okay, so let's say you have a Brady Bunch kind of thing where you marry, a woman who has 3 daughters and you have 3 sons. It would be not permissible for those 3 sons to then marry their, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's not.
But there is a verse in the Quran. I believe it's 4:17.
Mm-hmm.
It's in chapter 4 that if Mr. Brady married Mrs. Brady, but did not consummate the marriage, and then was attracted to one of the daughters, that he is allowed to have sex with one of the daughters.
Oh, okay. Well, that seems legit.
I'm not making this up. This is a verse. As long as he didn't have sex with the mother yet, with his wife yet, he can marry the daughter. So.
Okay.
Well, familiar relationships in Islam are confusing. No, that's why. No, hold on a second. Let's stay on this for a little bit, Eric. I'm sorry.
I don't want to.
But no, I'm going to end it. I'm going to end it here. See, that's why Mamdani got confused between his auntie and his cousin when he said that his auntie that he was a true victim because his auntie was afraid to wear the hijab after 9/11. Even though then it was then shown that his auntie wasn't even in New York at the time and doesn't even wear the hijab. He then said, well, no, it was my dad's cousin. Well, if you can marry your first cousin up to 4 of them, I could see how aunties and cousins could get confused in the Islamic family. You know what I'm saying? It's just all confusing to me. So he could be, got confused that, his dad's 3rd or 4th cousin marriage.
He did get
the auntie. I'm just saying.
He's a liar. He's a deceiver.
He's a communist.
He is.
Which, by the way,
and the sad thing is that he's going to become the mayor of the largest city in the United States.
Well, thank you.
For our society. educational system is.
You know what that means, Eric? You know what that means, Eric? That means
They're screwed. That's what it means.
no. That means that Chicago will not have the worst mayor in America anymore. So I'm elated to that. But wait, just announced, right? Me and Issa are going to debate whether Zohar Madani is a communist sometime coming soon. So yes. Anyway, continue.
Hey, could I just say one thing about the Zoran Mamdani thing?
Sure.
That, you know, a lot of the homosexuals are backing him too, and I just, you know, one of the things about him being in New York, that when they throw you off of a building in New York, it takes about 6 seconds. Like if it's from the Empire State Building, it takes about 6 seconds to hit the ground. And, you know, whereas like in other places, like if it's off of a 4-story building, it only takes like a second and a half.
Right.
But in New York, because of the Empire State Building or the Chrysler Building or something, it actually, because I'm not making this up, I studied it, and it takes about 6 seconds for like a 180-pound person who's thrown off of the Empire State Building to hit the ground. So
gives you time to think about it.
It's literally going to be raining men in New York City soon.
Well, that's if Sharia. That's if the Sharia comes to America. That's exactly what's going to happen. It happened in Iran. You look what happened to Iran. You had all of these communists and these socialists who supported the return of the Shah and the radical Islamists that surrounded him. And what's the first thing they did? They didn't lock up the people who opposed him. They went and killed the communists and the socialists first. They killed all those people because they knew the people that opposed them, they're going to keep their mouths shut. This is exactly what happens. This is exactly what happened in Iran, and it will happen in all these people that support this. You know, they'll be the first ones dead. It's historical fact. Okay, let's jump back over to this apostasy shtick. Did you guys have anything anyone else to add to it?
I just want to say that the verse that I was talking about in the Quran about the man who marries a woman but then falls in love with her daughter, if he hasn't consummated the marriage with the wife, he is allowed to marry the daughter. That's chapter 4, verse 23.
Who gets? I mean, what kind of God comes up with this crap? I mean, seriously.
Well, you know, you'll never watch the Brady Bunch the same again. You know.
We got, dude, Steve. You got to come up with an Islamic version of the Brady Bunch theme song. The opening.
Here's the story
of a false prophet named Muhammad. We'll work on it. All right, cool.
Yeah, let me write that down. See if I can figure out some lyrics myself. Brady Bunch theme song for that verse. That's just sick. Anyway, okay, let's go back to apostasy, something that makes me feel a little bit cleaner. I was just saying, once we all get done with the show, take a shower, do some wudu, get it off. Okay, apostates are to be killed immediately. It says right here, in such a case, it is obligatory for the caliph to kill apostates immediately, to ask them to repent and return to Islam. If he does, it is accepted from him. If he refuses, when is he killed? He is killed immediately. So under a caliph, under Islamic law, under the Sharia, if you apostatize, if you leave Islam, you are to be killed. Don't give me any more of this crap that says, oh, that's not according to Islamic law. It's according to Islamic law, and that is built upon the sunnah right here, the sunnah of Muhammad, the hadith. Someone who his religion and the Muslim community, the killing of a believer that's not the one. What was it? Right here. When a person has reached puberty and saying apostatize, he deserves to be killed.
Okay, let me comment on this really quickly here.
Oh, I had that.
So can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
So let me comment on this really quickly here. So this is the Shafi school of Islamic thought. Muslims will say, well, that's only a minority school. Okay, that really doesn't matter. It still is a legit school of Islamic thought. Okay, so its ruling is valid in a region where, let's say, the majority of the majority Islamic scholar or school, the Had school or whatever it's called, the madhab, get mad in the madhab. Anyway, it doesn't matter because the Shafi school's interpretation is just as valid in a region where the law is established by the Hanafi school. Okay, all right, so it doesn't matter. Okay, but here's the thing. This is according now this is so that's one where the Muslim will object to it and they'll say, well, that's nobody follows the Shafi school. That's just a minority. Well, that doesn't matter. But another problem is that all four schools, all madhab agree that a male apostate sentence is death. Where they do disagree upon is how long it takes, how long you give them to repent.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
Some say there's no chance. I forgot which one it was, the most harshest one, the one that the Salafis follow. Okay? They're like, no, there's no repentance, there's no turning back. They're to be killed immediately. Okay? Others say you are to give them 3 days to repent and then kill them. I think that's actually the majority, is give them 3 days. Now that's what you have to be clear at, male apostates. So when you ask a Muslim the question, what is the punishment for apostasy? Wrong question. The real question is, what is the punishment for male apostates? You have to be clear on that, because otherwise they'll just take you down the rabbit hole and say, well, no, this school says that women should not be killed. And then you get into this argument. You don't have to.
Right.
I'm just saying, cut that off at the head. Male apostates. Now,
No, go ahead. Finish up, and then I got.
Well, so to finish up, the madhab schools disagree on if a female apostate should be killed. Okay, most majority ruling is that they should just be locked away until they repent. Okay, but I forgot there's like one school, probably Salafi school, or I'm sorry, the Shafi school, that says that they should be killed. Either way, point being is you have to be precise in the question. Male apostates, because that's something quick, straight to the chase. They all say they should be killed. Period. Anyway, continue on. Sorry.
Well, here's what the Reliance of the Traveler says about the four schools. It says the four Sunni schools of Islamic law, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, and Hanbali, are identical in approximately 75% of their legal conclusions. So 3/4 of their legal conclusions, they are identical. While the remaining questions, variances within a single family of explainers of the Holy Quran and prophetic Sunnah, are traceable to methodological differences in understanding or authentication of the primary textual evidence, differing viewpoints sometimes reflected even in a single school. In other words, which Sunnah are you going? Which Hadith are you going to trust? You know, we had our Houston Imam tell us that they were making up Hadith all over the place, and you can't trust all these Hadith, especially when it comes to when he was arguing that with David Wood and that debate they did on the age of Aisha and whether or not that was, authentic or not. Well, if you're not going to trust that Hadith, and so it comes down to which Hadith are you going to trust? I'm going to trust the ones, if I'm a Muslim, that are Sahih. And all of the Hadith that are used as justification for these laws are Sahih. They're not going to use some Da'if or Hassan Hadith. All right, let's jump back over here to the stream here. It is accepted and refuses, he's immediately killed. Okay, that's for an apostate. Now, here's another kicker. There's no indemnity for killing an apostate, meaning that there's no punishment for killing an apostate. So if somebody apostatizes from, let's say I'm a Muslim and Rad's a Muslim and Rad apostatizes. If I go out and I kill Rad, according to this law, I cannot be punished for it. There's no indemnity that's going to be brought against me for killing an apostate. Think about that one.
All have due to Allah. Well, no, that's the thing. Let me just comment on this one. Remember, so this is in a time, okay, now they want to do this, okay, where criminal punishment is brought out by clans. Criminal punishment is basically vigilante punishment. In other words, you put on, like, for instance, the Romans. When the Romans wanted to punish someone, they put you on a prescribed list. It was called prescription. If you got put on that list, you were done, okay? Anybody who harbored you, if they found out, I mean, say, Eric was put on the prescribed list, and he shows up at my house taking sanctuary. Well, guess what? You now put a death sentence on my head, because if my neighbor saw you at my house, he could turn me in, collect all my stuff and your stuff, okay, and have you killed. This is what they were talking about here, and a lot of this stuff. It's basically the old Roman law. So when they said, okay, okay, don't get me wrong, there are cases, obviously, where the person is in prison and the apostate is killed, or the hand chopping is cut off. But in most of these cases, where this is being done vigilante-wise. This is being done where, okay, my son, my daughter, my cousin, my friend apostated, or some guy that I knew at work comes up to me and he apostated, and he invites me to join his apostasy. And he's got a lot of stuff, and I like his stuff. And his wife's cute too, so I can take her. So you know what? I'm just going to kill him and take his stuff. You know what I mean? And there's nothing another clan can do. His family can't do nothing. They cannot seek recourse in the court system. It's done. But anyway.
All right. Let me just show this quick video clip. Hold on. Here we go. More people talking about the Sharia. Oh.
Message I want to give to the far right people is we're here to take over your country. You can't stop us. You can try, but we're here to uphold Sharia law, and yeah, that's it.
All right. What message do you want to give to the far right people?
The message I want to give to the far right people is we're here to take over your country. You can't stop us. You can try, but we're here to uphold Sharia law.
Okay, so this is what these immigrants are doing, and people who are Muslims want to do. They want to take over the country, impose Sharia law, replace our forms of governance, replace our forms of government, and impose their draconian form of justice.
Do you mind if I say something about this? I think these people are utterly incompetent. There's no way that they can do anything about governance. These people have no skills. They don't have education. They have no way of doing governance, and they have no way of overtaking. These are people who have an inferiority complex, who basically, when people who have no sense of purpose and sense of self, what they do is they act greater than they really are. So it's like the bullying mentality. A lot of these people who are bullies, they have a lot of insecurity. These people sound extremely insecure. They know nothing about even themselves. So what they do is they project, and they're like, well, we're going to have power. You don't even know how to have power. You don't even have education. You don't know how to do any of this stuff. Doing politics is hard. Doing governance is hard. It requires work. It requires education. That's why all these people who do this type of stuff go through a rigorous thing to even get there. These people are ridiculous. They're silly.
Yeah, the book here. I'm sorry. Did you have something? Go ahead, Lisa, if you're going to finish something up. Did you have something to add?
No, I wanted to respond really quick to Isa. No, that's a very good observation, and it's very good. Mamdani has no experience in politics except that he was elected in a low turnout district, and he missed more days of city council than he showed up for, and voted in favor of giving himself a raise for not showing up to work. And that's the limit of his experience, and he's about to be elected the mayor of New York City. So when you sit there and say these incompetent people cannot gain power, oh, trust me, they can and they do. This is the problem, okay? And yes, you're right, politics is hard. Well, not really, because now you got AI that will scour the districts and say, here's a low turnout state, okay? Here's a low turnout district. You can run as this and get elected, even if you're just a mannequin and just show up. Barely. You can miss work 86% of the time. I think he missed work. He didn't show up. Okay?
But the difference is Mamdani is educated. Mamdani was an assemblyman. He does have what do you call it, experience as an assemblyman. You could say you can critique his record, but he
for 4 years. He's been there for 4 years. He doesn't
right.
have
So I mean, that's bona fides more than these people with jackets and who are loud,
Right.
arrogant.
But no. What I'm saying, but no, Issa, before he became the assemblyman, what experience did he have? He worked on his mom's videos, nepotism, total he actually listen, nepotism and Hollywood go hand in hand.
But
So
I mean,
he got a job as a music producer. He was a gangster Punjab rapper for a while. Okay.
But President Trump got it through nepotism too. Like, come on now. We have to be
Hold on. Wait. Yeah.
They're silver spoon children. Of course, rich people are going to have access to things that other people aren't. Like that's just the way this world works. So,
but the difference is that Trump actually showed up to freaking work, dude. Okay, this dude didn't show up to work. Okay, but anyway,
he's working like 24/7. I mean,
anyway,
guy's sending out tweets.
Anyway, me and Issa are going to be debating.
They're silver spoon children. Let's be fair here. These people come from extreme wealth. Of course, they got resources from their wealth. That's just the way that our nation works. We just got to own that instead of being like, "Oh my God, this happened. It's so horrible." It is the way that it is.
I'm not saying it's not, but anyway, Issa, hold on. Me and Issa are going to debate, right? Issa is dominant communist sometime in the future. Just name it anytime next week.
Come to Discord. We'll have our debate on Sherbumate Talks. So of course,
no, I'm not going to do it on Discord. We can do it on Eric's channel or your channel.
Mandani.
Discord to arrange so we can arrange our debate. That's what I'm saying. Come to the Discord. Right. We can do that.
Mandani.
All right, send me the link. Send me a link to the Discord server.
Sure.
Anyway, go ahead. Continue on.
Not a stupid, silly debate.
Right.
But Donnie's undergrad is in African Studies. What is the most popular form of government in most African countries?
Communism.
No, come on. It depends on which country we're looking at.
The organically, when you have, there's been a lot of democracies that have been opposed on African countries, but organically, when African nations are left unto themselves to decide what form of government they want, they become communist, socialist, or totalitarian. It's easy to see. I mean, look at exemplar South Africa. Look what happened to South Africa. Just as soon as Mandela was elected, what did they start doing? They started seizing all the properties of the what do they call them? The Afrikaners, the British colonists down there. Anyway, that's what Madani gravitates towards. Is that type of government? That's because that's what he studied in college. Okay, the thing that I was going to point to, Issa, was this book here by Dan Janicek to affirm your point that Muslims have no governing abilities. They suck at it. And if you look at John of Damascus, he was caught right in the middle of it. Mid 750s, I think, 8th century, middle of the 8th century. He is working for the Muslim rulers and administering. I think he was in Damascus. Well, he's in Damascus. He's in Syria. So they call him John of Damascus. Hello. And then you have this book here, Martin Gilbert, in Ishmael's house. And he talks about the Jews having to live amongst Muslims. And one of the many things that Muslims did, is that they had the Jews govern and manage their governments because of the lack of corruption that would go along with it, and the skill and the ability to at least do that. And they would actually point a lot of Jews, put them in charge of districts above Muslims, because they know that they could trust them to administer it correctly. And then plus your point also that they always say that they're great at doing that. They're not. Fighting. They suck at fight. I mean, they are the biggest coward. If you look at cowardice and cowardness on display, the Hamas holes are your quintessential example. Anybody that would go out and terrorize defenseless human beings, slaughter them like they did, and then carry them off into these dungeons and then hide behind schools, hospitals, children, and women, and then snivel about people getting killed. That is what a coward does, and that's what these guys are. They're nothing but cowards.
Hamas actually. Oh, I'm sorry.
And the same thing with most of these terrorist groups. Boko Haram. What's the one? Is Boko Haram the one that's in Nigeria?
Yes.
What's the one in
Al Shabaab? Al Shabaab is in like Sudan.
All of those guys, they're a bunch of cowards.
I agree. The thing I wanted to actually ask Hussein this too, and I don't know if you know about it, but that when they did the ceasefire just recently, it's been reported that Hamas was actually killing Palestinians.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're videos of it. They're executing them.
Yeah. Well, I was there when Hamas took over. And so that's kind of why I was, it was kind of tongue in cheek when I was talking about Mamdani throwing people off of the Empire State Building, because they were throwing people off of buildings in Gaza, and they were ruthless. And the way they justified it is it was between Fatah and Hamas. And the Fatah guys were saying the Hamas guys were kafirs. And then the Hamas guys were saying that the Fatah guys were kafirs, to where it was justified for them to kill them. And so, they consider, and they've been killing so many Gazan people who opposed Hamas, and right now, and it's all, and they're videotaping it. They're proud of what they're doing. It's
they're proud of that.
And they're doing it on purpose because they want to terrorize the people. It is exactly what Hamas did when they took over in 2005, 2007. And they're doing it again. Okay, the Israelis are gone, but now know who's in charge. That's exactly what they're doing again. But I wanted to ask Isa something.
Yes.
Isa,
what's up?
One thing that I'll be honest, this bothers me, and that is that, like in Michigan, there are cities where they have the mosques doing the call to prayer out loud for the whole city 5 times a day. Now, as a Christian and someone who understands what they're saying, I don't like that. But they're imposing this on all the people of like Dearborn, the mosque 5 times a day, blaring out the call to prayer, beginning at 4:30 in the morning. I think that you are a very good person. And I respect you, but I don't think that the Islamic ideology is that, your beliefs and the way you are is consistent with the Islamic ideology and the Islamic belief that they are supposed to impose Sharia law. They are supposed to do this slow crawl to try to take over whatever country they're in.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm probably would not fit with most people like this at all. I agree with you. I don't think that's off. I don't have a worldview that when I die, I'm going to have a bunch of ladies and, I'm going to have wine and, endless pleasures like that. That's kind of a sickening idea to me, to be quite honest with you. I think, I don't know what y'all think about this, but when I think about afterlife, I think that heaven and hell is that if you're close to God or you're separated from God, that's pretty much it. I don't think it's about stuff and, accumulating things. I don't think it's just an advanced position of this life. And it's really weird. I don't understand this like pursuit for the accumulation of things, but, I don't think that's a good worldview, but that's just where I stand.
Well, the point that I'm kind of making is, that, you're not doing those things, but Islam teaches to do those things. And you may not believe about the women and the rivers of wine and honey, but the Quran says those things are there. That these are the beliefs of Islam. And I just, I've got a question for you. What should Christians who don't like to hear the call to prayer 5 times a day. What do you think Christians should do when they don't want to hear the call to prayer 5 times a day? Because there are some cities in America where that's happening.
This is a tough question. I understand what you're asking. It's like, is it wrong to do the call to prayer, like maybe locally, where it's right in like a certain neighborhood and where everybody might be Muslim, and it's not super loud? Yeah, like one second.
What would happen? What happened?
He says getting interference. He muted himself, I think, or went offline.
Sorry. There was a class that I have to. It just like some people came in. We had a break, and I don't know. It's a little weird, but I turned off the audio. But the thing that I would say is, I get it's not right to impose on other people, especially like when you're having a diverse, multicultural space. Your ideology shouldn't force be forced on other people. And if you let's say you have like a church bell and you have it for a certain period of time and it's not really imposing, I don't think there's any problem with that. And I think it's the same thing with the call to prayer. But if you're like saying, hi, I'm going to impose this and I'm going to do it really loud and I'm going to do it over and over and over again. And I get that. I get that could be extremely offensive to someone else who's like, hey, I don't believe in your religion. I don't believe in your message and I don't want to hear it. And, it's hard. It's a very hard thing. Like from my worldview, I don't believe anybody should be imposing their stuff on other people and, excluding people. Like I was thinking about Al-Aqsa actually earlier today, where they don't let non-Muslims come in. Tommy Robinson was there, and that kind of bothers me deeply. I'm like, why can't non-Muslims come in? Why shouldn't they be allowed to? Especially if you believe this is a sacred site. Shouldn't you want people to see the sacredness of it? Why are you excluding people? And I think, I don't know, I think imposition, exclusion, these are not factors that I think are good for a healthy worldview. That's my point of view on it. And, that might make me a bad person, but that's where I stand.
With the call to prayer, what is the purpose of the call to prayer to begin with?
I think it's like to let people know it's time to come pray.
Right. It's time to come to pray. Okay. Does that change? Does that change?
Actually, yes, it does, because remember they're on a lunar calendar. And they go by what position the moon is in relative to the sun. Like, no, seriously, you can be doing the first call to prayer at 3 a.m. Okay.
All right. So here's the question: Do they have access to that information?
Yes. Well, no, that's another thing. They have apps on this. They can, they can have an alarm clock for it.
They have access to the information. That's the point.
Yeah.
So the call to prayer is not something that is necessary. People know when to show up to the mosque. They don't need to hear the call to prayer. That is more of a traditional thing that has been exercised all throughout the history of Islam. But when you are in a Western nation, to impose that noise on the people who live in that community is an abomination.
City councils have done it. City councils have done it in Detroit. And
it's wrong. It's wrong. And there's got to be some type of constitutional caveat to that, because I get the opposite argument. Was Issa brought it up? Well, you have the church bells. Well, number one, in Muslim countries, Christians can't ring their church bells at all. As a matter of fact, that's in the Pact of Omar, for crying out loud. That's as far back as it goes. But the church bells are only sounded once a week, and that's on Sunday, and that's it. Whereas the call to prayer is 5 times a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. People who are actually the majority population in those cities have to listen to that crap. And it's another way, just as taking over city streets and praying in the city streets, stopping traffic or whatever. It's another way to impose their authority or perceived authority upon the majority. And by doing so, and by allowing them to do that, it does not assuage their desire to impose more requirements upon the kuffar. It only emboldens them to do more. So somebody needs to figure out how to nip that in the bud. Especially
Israel said that you cannot have it at a certain volume, and they forbade it, and it was a big deal when they did that. And but I tell you what, man, I don't like to hear it. 4:30 in the morning. When I lived in the Middle East, I mean, literally, it was so loud from 4:30 in the morning, and I couldn't sleep. And but I was there. I was living in the Middle East, and I was the only Christian in that city, just about. But this is America, and it bothers me that this is coming here. And New York, Mayor Adams, he said the Muslims can do this also during Ramadan in New York City. And so I bet you anything Mamdani's going to do it, for the rest of New York City.
Even outside of Ramadan. You watch, even outside of even outside. But and you mentioned that Israel does the volume thing.
In fact, I think they forbade it. I think they forbade it altogether.
Well, with that, I mean, the first thing that goes off of my head is, how are you going to measure that? Who is going to measure that? They're going to have somebody out there with, a decibel reader, outside of the mosque say, that's too loud. Or, okay, even if it is too loud, you think they're going to turn it down? No, these guys, they're not going to do it. And then if you make them do it or tell them that, you're not going to play it, oh, well, then you're discriminating against this. You're an Islamophobe, you bigot, you racist. Or what gets me is we do this same thing here in the United States, where they'll open up a mosque at a storefront or someplace in a neighborhood. Well, you can't do that. Why? Well, because you don't have parking. Well, what do? They park up and down the streets. You block traffic the entire time, every single time. There's cars everywhere, and you can't get through there. Well, what if you complain? What are you then? What are you, an Islamophobe? You're going to try to keep me from going to church or going to mosque and praying? What kind of hateful bigot are you? These are the art. You can see, and Steve, I absolutely agree 100%, and I can understand your frustration with that. And people you just have to stand up and stand firm and say, look, you are a religious supremacist. Don't try to sit here and push your bigotry onto me. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to listen to it. Take it someplace else.
There's the city. It was the city council. The city council actually voted to allow this, and so the
city council is majority Muslim. Am I correct on this?
I don't know. Either they were either majority Muslim or they were just majority intimidated or bribed, but they voted to where they did it the legal way. They said legally, okay, this is the volume, because there are noise restrictions in a city. You're not allowed to play music a certain level at certain times, but there are noise laws that you have, in the city. But they kind of said, well, for this situation, you are allowed to exceed the noise, in order for the call to prayer. Well, that's imposing it on everybody. And, that's just the Sharia creep. It's the creep. I'm serious.
Absolutely.
And you don't try to take a freedom away from people after you give it to them. It's very, very difficult.
Okay, let me just chime in on this real quick, because I got some interesting insights. So first of all, you mentioned people that complain, Eric. Yeah, he didn't complain on this, but there's a video on that. I think we played it on the show, where a guy showed up to complain about in Dearborn, Michigan, how they named a street sign or a street after a Hezbollah or Hamas terrorist. And the mayor of Dearborn said, you're an Islamophobe, and when you finally get out of our city, I will have a parade on that day. So what, are you going to complain now? Come on, no, seriously. You go to city council, you complain, and this is the level of attitude of the mayor. You know what's going to happen the next day? The police are going to be sitting there and following you. Once you walk out, now, dude, you creep through a stop sign, you got a ticket. They're going to show up at your place of business. Well, we're just doing an inspection. Oh, you know what I mean? They're going to totally harass you to get you out of the city. Okay? All right? So no, what are you going to do here? But here's kind of a funny story. So, as Steve will testify, when they start broadcasting these call to prayers, the mosques compete with each other, do they not, Steve? Because the mosques are in competition with each other. So they will have, the one mosque will have it say set at 5 for the call to prayer. The other mosque will like, they got more people showing up to masjid. I'm going to set mine up to 6. And all of a sudden you got the next masjid, he's going to full blown 11 from Spinal Tap. You know what I mean? Okay. They compete with each other on the amplitude of their call to prayers. Okay. But here's the funny thing. My sister, my brother-in-law, they just went to a trip in Turkey. And my sister said, no, it was guided. Everything was cool. And my sister said, when we first got there, we were in a hotel, so we never heard the call to prayer because guess what? It's all soundproof. You don't hear anything outside. But then she stayed at their friends, and she said, so it never bothered me. Okay. But then she stayed at a friend's house because they have a friend in Turkey. Okay. Business, whatever. And she's like, oh my God, this thing is just going off. And it is so annoying. And she taught even the Turkish tour guides. They were like, this is stupid, dude. They hate this stuff. Because the Turkish tour guide is giving a tour, and all of a sudden the call to prayer goes off at 7 different mosques. Okay? And it's all interfering with each other, and they can't hear the tour guide. And he's having to say, I'm sorry. They built these mosques, and these mosques are all closed. Okay? They really hate the guy, what's his name, Erdogan, in Turkey. They're in open rebellion against him, openly complaining. But no, but the thing, even they in Turkey complain about the call to prayer, okay? Because it is so annoying, okay? Because, if you're at an intersection of, say, intersection A, and you got a mosque at intersection B, and intersection C, and intersection D, guess what? You're going to hear 3 calls to prayer. And it's going to be loud and out of sync. Okay? It's going to be echoing. It's going to be reverbing. It is the most, from what my sister said, it is the most horrendous thing we'll ever hear. Okay? Even they complain about it. Even they hate it. Okay? But you got to do it, because if you don't, you're an Islamophobe. But then they say, what about the church bells? Yeah? Well, I remember the church bell was it still is, a soft ringing tone. And it's not 50 million of them going off. You know what I mean? Anyway, Eric's on the phone. So we'll discuss something else. Steve, stick around after the show because I'm working on a project that you might be interested in. You could help me out with. Basically, I'm writing a Python script to compare Arabic Qurans to find all the variants in it. And I need someone who reads Arabic because I've hit a wall.
I got to go to work, and so I won't be able to hang around, but we can talk another time, though. Okay.
Well, I just need to send you, I'll send it to you on Facebook. 2 Quran, a wash version in Arabic and a Haas version in Arabic. I just need to know the starting page of the actual Quran and the ending page of the actual Quran, because they got all the notes and graphics and stuff. You know what I mean? And that interferes with my script. It doesn't know how to interpret it. I just need to know the start and end page. Page 1 of Quran, last page of Quran. That's all I need to know. Make sense?
Okay, sorry. I had my grandson had called.
Yep.
I thought it was emergency. It wasn't. He lost his cell phone.
So he called you. Wait, he called you.
And he wants me to go to the school, open the school up so we go look for it. I'm like, dude, it's 6:30. I'm not going to school.
No, sorry, dude. No,
your cell phone. Oh my gosh. All right, let's get back to this thing. Steve brought up this fact here. Let me show this about how they pray. And this, and this is what Siraj Wahaj was saying. Well, it teaches us how to pray. Well, this is what they pray right here. Then when it recites the opening, this is Fatiha. It's the Fatiha. I turn my face to him who created the heavens and the earth, a pure monotheist. Don't you see? You're a pure monotheist in submission and not of those who are not monotheists or who associate others with him. And then it goes on to say, my prayer, worship, life are for Allah, Lord's words, who has no partner. Now, who do you think that they're addressing 5 times a day in Islamic law? Who are they pointing to? Are they pointing to the Hindus? No. The Buddhists? No. They're pointing towards the Christians. So 5 times a day, they're praying to Allah to condemn the Christians. Also, right here.
This is the Fatiha, yeah.
Yeah, right here. In the name of Allah, what is this then? Steve?
Then when the opening supplication, istiftah, which means this is a kind of prayer that when you want to ask Allah for something, istiftah, it's kind of like it's a special kind of prayer, but this isn't like the most important prayer that they pray five times a day.
Okay, so this one right here is not 5 times a day.
Yeah. They may pray this 5 times, but this right here, this next one is the one that they recite 17 times a day. This is the Fatiha. Yeah, this is the Lord's Prayer for Muslims.
Okay. And look at you have blessed not those whom wrath is upon or those who are lost. Now, who are they referring to whose their wrath is upon?
Well, when you look at you look at most of the different scholars, that this is the one upon whom in Arabic maghdub alayhum is talking about the Jews, and then the lost ones is talking about the Christians. Now, it doesn't specifically say Jew and Christian, but that's what's understood.
Okay, so they could come back and say, "Well, it doesn't say Jew or Christian. What's wrong with you, you bigot?"
But most scholars say it is the Jews and the Christians.
Yeah, quit making sense. Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. So here, how many times a day did you say it was? 17 times a day?
Well, they say it, if you do the prayers 5 times a day, you will recite that particular prayer 17 times in those 5 prayers. And that prayer, it literally is like the Our Father. The Catholics pray the Rosary or Our Father or Hail Mary, whatever.
Right.
That's how this prayer is. That, like, if there's a wedding, they say it. If there's a funeral, they say it. If there's a special event, they say it. It's the most well memorized. It's the first surah of the Quran. Yeah.
Okay, so guide us in the straight way, the way of those you have blessed, which is the Muslims, right? And not those whom your wrath is upon.
Lost.
Yeah. Look at this one. Look at this. What is this from? There's no God Allah without partner. His is the dominion. His is the praise. He is the power of all things. This is another thing that I found in the Sharia.
Yeah, this is I believe this is a surah also of the Quran. It's not a full surah, but it's like La ilaha illallah, la sharikun lahu, lahu al-quwwa sultan. Yeah. Yeah.
So more condemnation for this is what they take of the Christians. They pray to God to condemn the Christians because we associate partners.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're the ones that don't have partners with God. Forget the fact that they don't even understand the Trinity. And Muhammad thought the Trinity was God the Father, God the Son, and God the Mother, Mary. Let's forget that little fact. Okay, let's talk about marriage and marriage. Oh, there's one thing that I wanted to bring up. Who is the only woman married or not married mentioned in the Quran?
Miriam,
right. Okay. Then, if that is true, why then in chapter 3, let's see here, chapter 3, it says, Surely Allah chose Adam and Noah, the family of Abraham, and the family of Imran, above the world, their worlds, their offspring, one another, and Allah is hearing and knowing. Muhammad thought, let's see, when the wife of Imran said, okay, who is Imran?
Moses' father.
What? Okay, so Imran is Moses' father. That would be the father of Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. We get that from the Bible. We understand that part, okay? So when the wife of Imran said, "O Lord, I vow to you, what is in my belly is to be devoted to you, so accept it from me. Surely you are the hearing and knowing." So when she had given birth to her, she said, "My Lord, I've delivered her a female." So which child is this? Is this Aaron, Moses, or Miriam?
Miriam.
Miriam, very good. And Allah knows what I have birthed, and the male is not like the female, and I have named her Mary. Okay, so you named her, so your daughter's name is right here, and I seek refuge for her and for her offspring. Then it goes on to say, right here in the very next verse, 37, so the Lord accepted her with a good acceptance and planted her a good planting, and Zechariah took responsibility for her, and every time Zechariah entered into her mihrab, he found that she had provision. He said, "Oh, Mary, where did this come from?" She said, "It is from Allah. Surely Allah provides." Gone it. Leave me alone. I'm not. Go find your own phone. Mary, where did this come from? So, who's Zechariah? So Zechariah is Mary's, her uncle. Mary or Elizabeth was her aunt. She goes to see Zechariah is her husband. So now you have Mary going to see the same Mary is the daughter of Imran. So Mary. Well, if you make the argument that Mary is the only female that is named by name in the Quran, then you have to believe that Mary was 1,400 years old when she gave birth to Jesus. If you follow chapter 3, the reading of the Quran.
Either that or, there was a time machine. And that's what I believe, that there was a time machine where she was flying back and forth and even, I'm sure you've heard the hadith that somebody came to Aisha and told her, wait a minute, Mary can't be the sister of Aaron because there was like 600 years between them. And, but there is the possibility that there was a time machine to where she could fly, back and forth between the centuries. And so,
yeah, and that's one of the things that I've thought about is how many, because I'm a history guy, this is what I teach history. How many historical errors, things that we can demonstrate by using known historical methodologies to ascertain dates, to ascertain places, inventions that had been used at that time, the names of people, where they would be predominant in and where you wouldn't expect. Like, for example, you would not expect to find in colonial America somebody named Mufasa. It would not exist. You would not expect that. Why? Because names in colonial America were from normally Northern European name. You wouldn't find that. Haman is a Persian name. Haman was a 5th century guy found in the book of Esther. He's a villain there. Where do we find Haman in the Quran? We find the Haman hanging out with Pharaoh 1,000 years earlier, condemning people to be crucified, which hadn't been invented, which wasn't going to be invented. So when we start looking at the historicity of the Quran, it's just a total mess. And when we talk about women and this constant mantra that we hear that, well, women are esteemed in Islam. No, you're not. And here's what the Islamic law says about women in Islam. Right here. It's unlawful for a Muslim man to marry who? A Zoroastrian woman, or an apostate from Islam, or a woman with one parent who is Jewish or Christian while the other is Zoroastrian. So Here, you can't marry a woman who is an idol worshiper, an apostate from Islam, or any type of Zoroastrian blood. Got it. But drop down to number 5. It's not lawful or valid for a Muslim man to be married to any woman who is not either a Muslim, Christian, or Jew. But here is, okay, so a Muslim man can marry a Christian and a Jew. That's what it says. Am I correct on that? Yeah.
That is right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But look what it says. It goes on to say, nor is it lawful for or valid for a Muslim woman to be married to anyone besides a Muslim. So women, if this is going to be the law that is going to be imposed upon the United States of America, women, number one, a man can marry a Jew or a Muslim man can marry a Jew or Christian. However, but you as a Muslima, you can't do the same thing. Where is the 14th Amendment in its application there? You have to completely throw it out and destroy it.
You know where one thing is that in the Quran, women don't have the same rights as men, and like women aren't allowed to marry for men. I mean,
my next point, yeah.
And they're not allowed to beat their husbands.
You can't marry 4 men either. So that is not equal protection under the law or equal entitlement under the law, violation of the 14th Amendment. So don't tell me that the Sharia is completely compatible with the Constitution. And if you want to bring in the Sharia, then you're going to have to explain this to the women folk. Here's another one. A woman leaving the house. I got a couple on this in Sharia. A woman may not leave the city without her husband or a member of her unmarriageable kin. So she can't leave the city without her husband or she can't leave it, or with, let's say, a nephew that is not married. He has to be
mahram.
Yeah. Accompanying her. They have to accompany her. It is unlawful for her to travel otherwise and unlawful for her husband to allow her to. Right down here, M4. This is on page 538. Look it up. The husband may forbid his wife to leave the house. So a husband can prevent his wife from leaving. Can the wife prevent the husband from leaving? No. It gets worse. We have more here. Okay, so when we look at marriage, women can't marry Jews and Christians. Muslim men can. Muslim men can marry 4 wives. Muslim women can't. And if you're a wife of a Muslim, your husband can forbid you from leaving the house. And you can't leave the city unless you have your husband with you. Or a married kin. Does that sound like freedom? Does that sound like a life or America that you would want to live in, or a Western society that you would want to live in at all? Women, hello, it's right here, black and white, right here in front of your face. Right here. Dealing with a rebellious wife. And we've talked about this one until the cows come home. When a husband notices rebellion in his wife, not he's being rebellious, but signs of rebellion, and that's either in words or she can or ask her to come to bed and she refuses. Well, what can he do? He can tell her, he can inform her, say, "You're obeying me is religiously obligatory," meaning that a woman is required by their religion to obey her man. Now, what does she have to obey? And then it goes on to say, if she commits, she's sleeping with her, or you can hit her. Right here, you can hit her. Don't tell me that you can't hit your wife in Islam. You can. If you fear, what does it say? If a husband notices signs of rebellion in his wife, whether in words, whether she used to say politely, and she refuses to come to bed, what can you do? You can hit her. And you have to tell her, you say, "You're obligated to obey me by God's law. God tells you. Go ahead.
In the Arabic, the word is intakhafun nishuzahun. It doesn't mean it says if you fear some kind of misbehavior.
Right.
That's just if you fear. She hasn't done anything yet. It's if you
over
fear.
here? Is that written over here?
In chapter 434.
Yeah, but right here, is this what it translated here? If you fear, or does it say notices over here in the Arabic?
Oh yeah, let me see. What let me see. I don't think that's 434 there.
No, this is what it's this is the English
Oh,
here. This is the Arabic of what it says.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're yeah, this is the Sharia law. Okay. I thought it was the verse from the Quran. Okay. Yeah. That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. So does the word fear exist over here in the Arabic?
On this right here is the Sharia law. Yeah, they don't use the word fear there. I was quoting the Quran. The Quran.
Okay. All right.
The verse that this is based on.
Okay. So look, but also here, next one, you're obeying me is, and then you can hit him. Okay. It is not lawful for the wife to leave the house except by the permission of her husband, nor may a wife permit anyone to enter her husband's home unless he agrees, even their unmarriageable kin. So if your brother comes over, you can't let him in. If her sister comes over, you can't let her in unless the husband says it's okay. Let's see, may enter the home unless he agrees. So the husband has to agree to allow these people into the house. Women, does that sound like something that you're ready to live with? It's right there in the Sharia. It's right there in Islamic law. This is what I was referring to before, where we talk about being obliged. Let's see here. You're obeying me is religiously obligatory. Well, look what it says down here. What is obligatory? Wife's marital obligations in the Shafi school, right here. A woman is not obliged to bake, grind flour, cook, or wash clothes. She's not obligated to do that. What she is obligated to do, only that she let him enjoy her sexually. Other than that, it says she's not obliged to do other than that. So the only thing a woman is obligated to do is to allow her husband to enjoy her sexually. That's it. Everything else she's not obligated to do. You don't have to wash, you don't have to clean, you don't have to cook, you don't have to grind the flour or whatever. But if I want to jump on you, you are obligated to do that. How sick is this? Then being completely covered. The nakedness of a woman is that she's forbidden to reveal, differs in the Shafi school according to different circumstances. In the privacy of her home, her naked is that she's between the navel and the knees. Who cares? In the prayer, it means everything besides the face and the hands. And when outside the home, on the street, it refers to the entire body. Now, the Hanafis, they say all but the face and hands, just as in prayer. But this is why you see women walking around Afghanistan like they're wearing a tent. And if women have talked about, and I've watched the videos of women talking about how you are sensory deprived by being in that bag and being forced to walk. It takes away your identity, it takes away your humanity, and it belittles you. And they had a guy that was on the news the other day where he beat his wife for taking her hijab off when she was in the house because the window was open. They didn't have their curtains drawn or the shades pulled. Give me a break. Okay, we've got a couple more here. Beating into submission is obligatory for a wife to obey her husband, allowing him full, lawful sexual enjoyment of her person. If the wife does not fulfill one of these above-mentioned obligations, she is termed rebellious. So you have to allow him to do this, and if you don't allow him to do this, then you are rebellious. And if you are rebellious, what can the man do? He can beat you. I showed you right before what the law says. Sick. If keeping from her is ineffectual, it is permissible for him to hit her if he believes that hitting her will bring her back to the right path. Hitting her may not be, look at this, hitting her may not be in a way that injures her and his last recourse to save the family. Oh, I want to save my family, so let me go beat the hell out of it. Come on. And you know the thing about this, if you hit a woman, if you hit your wife here in the United States, we have laws against that. You go to jail. Also, under the, I'm trying to think what the law was. It was a law that says that you can no longer own fire. A Lautenberg Amendment. The Lautenberg Amendment says that you cannot possess, purchase, or own a firearm if you have been charged with domestic abuse. If you have done this, if you hit her, if you follow the Sharia, you will be charged with a crime in the United States. You will be charged with a crime in most countries and found guilty. If she testifies that you did hit her, you're done. And in the United States, your Second Amendment privileges are taken away too. Here's a good one. Here is a really good one. Female genital mutilation. Circumcision is obligatory for both men and women. For men, it consists of removing the prepuce from the penis. I'm assuming that's the foreskin. And for women, removing the prepuce of the clitoris. Not the clitoris itself. Well, thank you. As some mistakenly assert. Hanabalis hold that circumcision of a woman is not obligatory, but sunnah, while Hanafis consider it a mere courtesy. Hey, this is a taking away the sexual enjoyment of your wife is a courtesy. This is the Sharia. This is the draconian garbage that you get from this.
Wait. Okay. So sorry, I was trying to solve my problem with the Quran script. But I was listening. So we're going to back up a little bit. So let me get this straight. A wife is only obligated for just sex.
Let me see. It's obligatory for a wife to obey her husband as is customary, allowing him full lawful sexual enjoyment of her person. Yep.
Okay.
And if not, you can say you're obeying me is religiously obligatory. And if you don't do that, you can hit her. That's what it's saying.
Okay, so in the Bible, specifically New Testament, it defines the roles of sexual relations between husband and wife, and that is to enjoy each other equally. The husband's body does not belong to him alone, but to the wife as well. And the wife's body does not belong to her as well, but to the husband as well. And you are to come together and only separate yourselves for prayer and fasting, so as not to be tempted by the evil one. Okay, but okay, so this is a clear distinction. No, okay, all right. You are both to be in mutual engagement and mutual enjoyment. It is not that, my whole wife here, let's call her hoe one because you can have up to 4 hoes. Okay? You just sit there in the room, and when I call you out, I have sex with you. No. This is a difference between the Quran and the Bible. It is mutual enjoyment, mutual agreement. Okay? Your body does not belong to you anymore. It belongs to your wife if you are a male. And yes, ladies, your body no longer belongs to you anymore. It belongs to your husband. It is mutual agreement, mutual contract. Okay? All right? And wait, the husband more, because the husband is to protect his wife, to love his wife as Christ loved his church, even to the point of giving his life for the church. This is not in Islam.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
This is not Islam. There's no, oh my God, you don't, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to start. No, what is this? This is pimping 101 Islam style. Anyway, but that's all I wanted to say on that. Yeah, anyway, continue on.
The differences are stark. You know, to say that Islam is part of the Abrahamic faiths of Judaism and Christianity is a lie from the pit of hell.
Well, you know what? Let me comment on this real quick. Think about this. Okay, hold on a second. Okay. You Eric obviously are married. Steve is married. What does this mean? The husband's wife no longer belongs. The husband's wife belongs to the wife. Okay. I'm going to misrepresent the verse, but it basically says, okay, the husband's body no longer belongs to him alone, but to the wife as well, right? Okay. What does this mean, gentlemen? Okay, wife says, okay, I need to-do list. Because your body no longer belongs to me, you got to go out to do stuff, right? You know what I mean? It's no longer, it's not about sex, it's about a higher thing. It's, okay, your body, your physical attributes, you need to do stuff. You need to actually, go out and do stuff, okay? Do you see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
It does. But I'm not following you. What do you mean by stuff? You go out and do stuff.
Like, okay, to-do list. Like, okay, the honey-do list.
Oh, okay. Right.
You know what I mean? Okay, yes. Work around the house. Pick up stuff. You can't just sit there and say, I'm the king of the roost. My wife is my servant. She will pick up after me. Okay? No, you need to do stuff. You need to fix stuff. You need to actually go out and get groceries. You need to, when you're coming home from work, you call or whatever. Do we need to bring home a gallon of milk? Do you want food, flour? What, you know what I mean? Whatever. Okay? You got to-do lists because your body, your labor, your work now not only belongs to you, but it belongs to her as well. I'm just saying. Okay? You see what I'm saying? Anyway, this is the difference.
Elizabeth is posting a lot of stuff about jihad in here, and I'm going to get to that here in just a couple minutes. But the first thing I want to, before we get there, let's get back to women and the treatment of women. Here's something that is in the Sharia. Now, think about this. You have a law that deals with breastfeeding. They found that is necessary. They found it necessary within the Sharia, in Islam, to provide guidance on breastfeeding. How sick and depraved can you be? But it gets worse. Now that not only you have rules governing breastfeeding, it talks about the age of breastfeeding. It says right here on I don't know what page I had this on. Sorry, I got it right here. What is this? Sorry. I have it right here. Just condemn. Washing away. What is this? Tomb. What is this? N? Not K. M N N N. This is on. I'm getting there. Here we go. Right here. 576. Page 576. Page 576. This is on page 576. Becoming unmarriageable kin by suckling. So you can't marry a woman if she has breastfed you. Got it. I don't know. I didn't realize this was a problem. But I guess if you're practicing pedophilia, that might become problematic. But look what it says down here. The milk comes from a female at least 9 years old. Whether it's 9 years old. Now, why 9 years old? Why 9 years old? Well, we all know the answer to that, unfortunately. The Quran talks about it. In Quran 65:4, it says that you can divorce a woman that has not menstruated, those who have not menstruated. So if you can divorce a woman who has not menstruated, that means that you can marry them. So if you can marry somebody who's not menstruated, you can divorce somebody that's not menstruated. And this just talks about your waiting period, your iddah, that you have to wait. And it says right here, for those who have not menstruated. Now, I know we get a lot of people say, well, that doesn't really mean menstruate, not yet menstruated. Maybe they're too old. Shut up, right here. Ibn Abbas says it, menstruation. Why? When he's commenting on this, because they're too young, because of a young age. That's what it means. You get to Ibn Kathir, he says the same thing. The same for too young, who have not reached the years of menstruation. And you get to Al-Jalalain, same things. Those who have not yet menstruated because of their young age. So don't give me this crap that it might be a medical condition, or it might be, because they are too old. Shut up. This verse deals with little girls, little prepubescent girls that you can marry, consummate that marriage, and divorce before they've had their first period. Sick. This is the Sharia right here, right to it. And look at all the hadith that support this. Khadijah died. Okay, he said Aisha, when she was girl 6, was married, and then he consummated the marriage when she was 9 years old. Where is that, Rad? Where is that? Where is it?
I'm sorry. Where is what?
It's populating right now. I think I found it here.
No.
Aisha.
How old was Joseph? How old was Joseph?
Oh.
No.
Aisha.
How old was Joseph? How old was Joseph?
Oh.
No.
Aisha.
How old was Joseph? How old was Joseph?
Oh.
We share her sadness clearly.
Let's listen on Aisha.
This is very good opportunity to touch people's life in their bad time.
Oh, wait, I got to do it over here.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
Wait.
Hold on.
No, shh. Listen.
I'm going to eavesdrop on his conversation.
No, listen, no. This is important.
No, it's not. Okay. Another. Sahih.
He's in a commie socialist meeting. Listen to him.
Narrated Aisha. Were you there? How do you know she's not? Were you there? Yes, she was. Narrated Aisha. Prophet married her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old. And then he remained with 9 years, 18. And that all lines up. Here's another one. Narrated Aisha. Play with the dolls. Meaning she was prepubescent. It's right down here. Who says this? Fatih al-Bari. I can't remember where that comes from. The playing with dolls and similar images is forbidden, but it was allowed for Aisha at the time as she was a little girl not yet reached the age of puberty. So she used to play with dolls in the presence of her prophet, and girls used to play with me and used to enter the house. So, yeah. 9 years old. Sahih Muslim. When I was 9 years old. Muslim again. 9. When she was 9, Aisha reported that she was 9 and her dolls were with you, and that she died when she was 18. She wasn't 18 when she married him. He died when she was 18. Abu Dawood. I was 9 years old. He had intercourse with me when I was 9 years old. Al-Nasi. Consummated the marriage with me when I was 9. I was 9 and lived with him for 9 years. Aisha said, this is Al-Nasi again. Al-Nasi, 9. I was 9 and 18 years old when he died. Ibn Majah passed away when she was 18, or he married her when she was 9 and passed away when she was at. So, guys, this is just sick. This is your law. This is your law. right here. Washing away sperm, I'm not even going to do that. Here's what you have to do also if you are a Muslim. When you go on the Hajj, you have to worship Muhammad. Oh, yes, you do. It is recommended to pray 2 rakas to greet his mosque. Whose mosque is this? This is Muhammad's mosque. You have to pray to greet the mosque of Muhammad. What's inside the mosque? Muhammad, or that's what they think. And then one bows his head and summons to mind reverent awe and humility. He's taken reverent awe. Who is due reverent awe and humility? God alone. But no. Right here, you have it. Then you greet the prophet. He's dead. Who in the hell are you greeting? He's dead. And bless him in a normal voice, saying, peace be on you, O messenger of Allah. Who are you talking to? You're talking to somebody who's dead. Don't tell me you don't worship Muhammad. Right here in this hadith, or in this action required by the Sharia. This is what you're required to say when you go on your Hajj. Peace be unto you, O chosen one. Peace be on you, O best of all. Peace be on you, O but shut up. You're worshiping the man. Gets worse. Says right here, O concerning one's aims and goals, since he is what? The greatest intermediary in intercession and other things. Who's the greatest? Muhammad. That's not what the Bible says. Paul tells us that there's one God and one mediator between God and men. And who is that? Muhammad. No, that's not what he says. He says it's Christ. It's Jesus Christ. Look at this crap. Talk about jihad. What's the purpose of jihad? Or what does a jihad mean? It means to wage war, not to lose weight, not to get to work on time, not to brush your teeth, not to iron your clothes. It means to wage war against who? Non-Muslims. That's what jihad means. And it's derived from the word mujahada, signifying what? Warfare. And what is the purpose of it? To establish religion. That's what jihad is for. Don't try to tell us, kuffar, who study this stuff, against your own book. It says, don't teach this to the kafir, because they might have evil means or whatever the heck it said. It's right there in your book. That's what jihad means. What is the basis for jihad? It tells you this. It provides you right here in the book. It tells you Quran 2:16, fighting is prescribed for you. 489, slay them wherever you find them, and then of course fight the idolaters. 9:36. And also it talks about in hadith. Here's a hadith. I've been commanded to fight people until they testify what? There's no God but Allah. Okay, there's no God but God. But it goes on to say, and Muhammad is his messenger. And they have to pray 5 times a day. They have to pay zakat. And if they say it, they have saved their blood possessions from me, except the rights of Islam over them. So you can don't have to be a dhimmi, or you don't have to fight. And it's obligatory, meaning you are obliged. You have to engage in jihad. It is a communal obligation, and you can do it by either fighting or you can provide equipment for the soldiers who go out and do it. What are the objectives of the jihad? Well, to make war on Jews, Christians, and Zoroastrians. But you can't do that first. No, first you have to invite them to become a Muslim. You need to become a Muslim. I invite you to become a Muslim. Screw you. I'm not doing it. And if they will not, then enter the social order, meaning that you're going to pay the jizya. You're going to become a dhimmi, and you're going to have to follow all of these silly laws and subject yourself as a second-class citizen to the Muslim. Again, screw you. That's not happening. And then if they don't, let's see, which is significant of paying the money, remaining in the ancestral religion. until they become a Muslim, or else pay the non-poll tax, meaning you got to pay the jizya. And then they use Quran 929. They use 929 right here on page 602 as the justification for that for that section of the Sharia, for the law. It's right there in front of your face. Objectives: fight those who do not believe in Allah. That's 929 right there. And then it talks about rules of warfare. Child or woman. Okay, they talk about a woman or a child is taken captive in warfare. What happens? They become slaves. Women and children become slaves in warfare. If your land is conquered by the Muslims, this is what I'm telling you, folks. Do not ever, ever, ever allow this to happen in your country, because this is what's going to happen to you. This is what's going to happen to your family, your wife, your children. They're going to be sold off into sexual slavery and slavery, period. And if they're married, oh, look at this part. Even if they're married, that is annulled. So your marriage is annulled. If you are an adult male, then you can be killed. You can be released without ransoming or ransoming them or whatever. And then the poll taxes tells you how much you have to pay as a dhimmi. And it goes up significantly. It has been much higher throughout all of Islamic history. Again, this book here, Martin Gilbert and Ishmael's House, talks all about that. Let's see here. Who has to apply? Are such non-Muslims obliged to comply with Islamic rules? And they include, you have to wear the zunar, which is a wide belt. You can't use assalamu alaikum. You can't be greeted that. You go to the narrowest part of the street. You have to walk in the horse crap. You can't build new churches. And you can't live in the Hijaz, and you can't go in Mecca. You are ethnically cleansed according to their law. And right here, you can't go into Mecca under any circumstances, or any mosque without permission. You cannot go into a mosque without permission of a Muslim. So there you have it, folks. There you have just a glance of the Sharia. These clowns that are talking about changing out the Constitution or Western democracies with the Quran or with the Sharia, this is what you are going to have to expect. If every ounce of my being would fight that. So this idea that, we would all live in peace, because this is what they tell you. Oh, there would be no prostitution. There would be no homosexuality. There would be no alcohol consumption. You're going to tell me I can't have a beer? Really? And as a matter of fact, we tried that in the United States. We had passed 2 constitutional amendments. One was prohibition, and the other one was doing away with prohibition. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I can't believe that prohibition actually passes a constitutional amendment.
There's 2.
I don't know. One to pass it, one to abolish it.
Once they realize that this isn't working,
But how did you get for the pro? You know what I mean? I don't. That's something that's not discussed.
The temperance movement that swept across the nation, because there's a lot of drunkenness that was going on, especially in the West, and they did whatever they could in order to stop it. And they thought, well, let's just prohibit alcohol, and this led to the carnage we saw up there in Chicago with the gangsters.
Hey. We organized it. We had a good operation going after we killed everybody.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, there you go. Okay, Darcy, I saw you made it today. We appreciate that. Were you listening or able to glean anything from this?
Well, for the last 20 minutes, Islam can take a long walk off a short pier.
Yep. And this is what we need to do as American citizens, as people who live in the West. We have to, folks, you cannot be afraid of these clowns. A lot of people are afraid, I don't want to appear intolerant. You're not being intolerant when they tell you that they're going to ethnically cleanse you from certain parts of this country. You're not being intolerant when they tell you that they can impose a tax upon you that they don't have to pay. You're not, and don't give me this crap that, well, we have to pay zakat. Well, what about the tithing that we give to our church? Shut up. It's an extra tax imposed on people to subjugate them. Don't tell us that we don't have to obey all these silly ass rules that go along. Don't tell us that you can do this kind of crap to our women. Folks, we need to learn this stuff. You need to learn what the Sharia says. And so every time these clowns stand up and say, we want to replace the Constitution with the Sharia, you can say, oh, really? You want this? Do you want this? Do you want that? And if they say no, well, you're lying, because it's right here in your book. I got it right here. Okay. Rad, you got anything you want to add before we go for tonight? Hello, Rad.
No, Steve, you're still here?
Nope. Steve bailed. Lisa bailed.
Oh, okay. Well, I got nothing then.
No, Aisha. How old was Joseph? How old was Joseph? Oh,
yes, indeed. She was 9 years old. All right. God bless everybody. We will see you next Wednesday on the Cross and Crescent discussion group. God bless.
Advanced student and specialist, that the standard narrative has holes. That's what
that the Muslims were rioting against one another. And as much as we don't want to face the fact, the Muslims were lying sometimes. They were fabricating, they were embellishing, and that might be hard to accept, but that is a reality.